Let's skip straight to the real question. The question that we believe will save us. How do I avoid the wrong person? It's actually what keeps us trapped, that question, because it shifts our focus onto their flaws, their mistakes, their red flags, while leaving our own patterns, wounds, choices in the shadows. Okay, the real question. It's harder. How do I fix the person doing the choosing? Me. Because here's what I know after living through every relationship I'm about to describe. The common denominator in every single one is not the other person. It was me. Okay? The version of me that showed up, what I was carrying, the things I never showed anyone, what I was secretly asking each person to fix, the wounds that I brought to the table and kind of called chemistry, that familiar feeling that I mistook for love, until I was willing to look at that honestly, fully, without flinching, and without redirecting the blame outward. Nothing changed. So that's what today is about. It's not about them. It's about us. So let me tell you who was showing up to my relationships. Depression, anxiety, both of them, all the time, seemingly inescapable, like this unbearable weight that I just sat with on my chest all day. I didn't tell anyone, not a single person, because the version of me that the world saw was capable, warm, together. And that version could not afford to be struggling. So smile, perform, manage every room you walk into, and then come home at the end of the day and sit with the weight. Depression, anxiety left unaddressed, they're going to find their own exits. Mine found several. What you have to understand is they're not just random bad habits, right? They're dopamine loops. They escalate over time, like any addiction. So each one is a way to generate a hit of something that just felt like relief. Each one justifiable, each one making the underlying pain really hard to reach. Okay, pride, the need to be completely self-sufficient, to identify with achievement and status, to never need anything from anyone. So every accomplishment was a hit, a proof that I was okay, right? I'm enough. I don't need things, but that they were things I actually needed. Greed. Oh, the keeping up with the Joneses, nothing ever really feeling like enough. The next thing, the next level, the next, everything just kind of out of reach, because if enough actually existed, what am I running towards? I'd have to stop and actually feel what was underneath all of that. Lust, using sex and attraction as validation. Idealizing men, creating a fantasy in my mind of, something better, something more, someone who was going to finally make me feel the way I was supposed to feel, which made the reality of any actual relationship I was in worse by comparison. It was dissatisfaction with people, but it was engineered from my inside. All right, shopping, retail therapy, the dopamine hit of acquiring something new, and it is a brief, reliable feeling of having gotten something, of deserving something, of filling a space that would open right back up again, like as soon as that receipt printed. And then underneath all of that, the justification, the story that I would tell myself about why each of these things was fine, it was reasonable, it was earned, it was not a problem. That's who was walking into every relationship, everyone I'm about to describe. I was not a victim, a saint. I was a deeply wounded, deeply human person who had just been carrying too much alone for too long and was looking, whether I knew it or not, for someone to close that gap. And here's the thing about looking for someone to close the gap. You're always going to choose the person who feels familiar, because familiar feels like home. And when you come to a relationship from a place of lack, when you are asking another person to be the solution to a pain that lives inside you, you are setting up every relationship to fail before it begins. And that's not their fault. That's the setup. Okay, first real relationship started 1 year after my dad died, I was 15, I was a kid. I wore a Milwaukee back brace, and I was a kid. I'd living at home still with my mom, and I had no safe place at that point in my life. And a boy in my acting class manufactured a trauma bond. And it's so crazy. So he claimed that his best friend had also died by suicide. And that just got me to open up completely. We moved really fast with physical intimacy then. And I held on to him with everything that I had. Oh, what was my role? Okay, I was so hungry to be seen, understood, chosen. I ignored all the red flags because that attention, it felt like survival. I let someone in who had kind of shown me exactly who he was, and I looked the other way because the alternative was being alone with all of that weight again. Okay, the next relationship, strictly transactional. I think I was fairly clear-eyed about it at the time. I was broke. I didn't have enough money to eat, to pay the rent. And this kid had money, and I used the relationship for stability while I performed the role of a devoted girlfriend. So my role in that failure was really simple. I was not honest. I was not honest with him. I wasn't being honest with myself. And then, I don't know, there was a boy, maybe 19, 20, and he'd been secretly leaving these love poems in my college mailbox. And they were these beautiful, just adoring poems. And then when he finally revealed himself, I should have been moved. I was, but then it also kind of made me cringe because that adoration, that worship really looked exactly like what I watched my dad do with my mother. That complete unbelievable devotion that got my father destroyed. And my nervous system looked at him and I was like, men who love like this get left. Men who love like this don't survive. But college was ending and I was terrified. Again, please understand, I had no one. I had no family to go home to, no money, had no idea what was going to come next in my life, how I was even going to survive in the world alone. And he offered to move back to Sacramento with me that summer. And so I said yes. And it wasn't because I loved him. I was like, well, at least I'll have someone. But then he pulled up in the moving truck and I panicked completely. I stood at the door and I was like, I can't do this. He left. He was crushed. He did not understand. I chose fear of being alone instead of doing the honest thing, and I did it at his expense. So that was my role in that. And then, quick, I got married. And I knew when I was walking down the aisle, I was making a mistake. And please understand, it was not about him. I was making a mistake about me, about what I was choosing and why I was choosing it. I was choosing safety. I was choosing the antidote to my mother. I was choosing strength that felt like protection. My role in 17 years of marriage, okay, I performed, I managed. We never really fought, which I think looked like peace, but it was actually avoidance on my part. I resented, rather than saying so though, I found underground ways to reclaim power. Things I did really just hurt us both. And then I stayed long past the point where leaving was honest because I was just so afraid of being alone. And I was really afraid of losing my boys. And here's what I want to say just about all of this. Look, I can sit here and I can name 1,000 things about each of those partners where they were failing, what they brought, what role they played. Look, I have a complete complaint list, just like anybody. And I don't know, maybe I could make a compelling case, but none of that would serve anyone. Not me, not them, not you. Because you know what? Nobody's perfect. Nobody shows up to a relationship without their own wounds, blind spots, patterns that are running underneath things. And that is true of every person in every relationship that has ever existed. So the question is never whether the other person had a role in the failure. Okay, sure, they did. They always do. The question is, what do you do with that information? Because here's what focusing on their role produces. Nothing. Oh, you get to be right. You get to be the wronged party. You get to keep all your walls exactly where they are because look what happened the last time I let someone in. And then you walk into the next relationship carrying every bit of the same weight that you walked in with before, plus walls and the specific desperation of someone who has been wronged and they're just waiting to be wronged again. That is not protection. Okay, that is a guarantee. The only thing that actually interrupts that pattern is turning the focus here on me. What did I ignore? What did I bring? What was I asking them to fix that was never theirs to fix? Where did I stay out of fear versus choice? And where did I fail to communicate and to show up and to be honest? That accounting, honest, complete, without self-destruction, okay? That's what changes things. And it's not because it clears all of that. It's just because it just frees you. Here's what I know about guilt and shame, and from very personal experience. You can intellectually understand, you made choices from a wounded place, okay? And you can trace every decision back to its origin, its root cause. You can see clearly how the childhood became the pattern and then the pattern became the behavior. And you can still wake up at 3 a.m, just crushed under the weight of the specific things that you did, the people you hurt, the mistakes that you cannot take back. Understanding why doesn't automatically release you from the weight of all of that. So I want to talk about what did. And this is for me, and I say this as someone who is, again, genuinely new to faith. I am not someone standing on a mountaintop with all of the answers. But the release came for me through something that I had been reciting since childhood without ever really hearing it, understanding it. It's so core. Forgive our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. I've talked in earlier episodes about forgiving my mother and how that forgiveness unlocked something that I couldn't access any other way. But then there's another layer to it that took a little bit longer. Okay, the trespasses that were mine, right? The things I had done, the people I had hurt in the process of trying to just survive my own pain. Okay, the practice that actually worked for me in my life, my faith, okay, it was this. It was just to name it, okay? Every specific thing, not vaguely, not generally, very specifically, and confess all of it. Just bring it fully into the light and give it to God. And then just trust. The payment has already been made. And that's where I found the release. Not in understanding it. It wasn't in analyzing all of it. It was just in just naming it completely. And then just let it go. Just begin to trust that I just don't have to carry it anymore. And then taking action, okay? Not just sitting in relief, but starting to move differently and beginning to serve others, pursuing new habits, beginning to do this, right? Beginning to just share what I'm learning, because the healing that stays is the healing that becomes useful to someone else. I'm not going to tell you that you need to find what I found in the way that I found it. Look, faith is personal, and your path is yours. But I will tell you this, the weight of your own role in things is real, and you are not designed to carry that alone forever. Just name it. Just find your way to just put it down and then get moving. When you own your role fully, when you stop pointing outward and you just start looking inward, something shifts, and it's not immediate. It doesn't always happen cleanly, but it genuinely does. You stop bringing suspicion into new connections. You stop showing up with walls designed to protect you from damage, and you stop being desperate in ways that push away exactly what you need. You start being able to hold a space for other people when they show up without immediately making it about yourself, without flinching, without judging, because you know the territory. You discover that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's the only currency that really buys connection. The people that have done the hardest work on themselves, are almost always the easiest to be honest with, because they're not threatened by your mass. It's quite the opposite. They're like, oh, I know that, I recognize that. And that's what accountability produces. Not perfection, not the absence of even future mistakes, just a person who is genuinely safe to be real around. And a person who is safe for others, that's really big. After my first marriage ended, after I had done all this work looking at my own role in things, and I really started to begin naming what needed to be named and starting to write some of it down, I met someone. But I did what I always did. I showed up as the best version of myself. I was happy, I was capable, I was warm, I was together. The presentation was flawless. And he didn't buy it. Not because he was suspicious or critical, but because he's just extraordinarily tuned in. He's the kind of person, he could read your energy before you've even read it yourself. And something about my story just didn't fully resonate as the whole truth. And he just told me that. He was really gentle about it, but he was very clear. He was like, something isn't adding up for me. And I could just feel there's more than what you're sharing with me. And then he stepped back from the relationship. Now understand, it wasn't to punish me, and it wasn't because he didn't want me. He wanted the real version, and he could tell he wasn't getting it. I had never encountered that before. Every relationship before him had accepted the presentation without question. And he loved the capable together version. And, every guy before had asked for nothing more than that. But this guy, he was the first one that looked at that performance and said, I see something behind that. And I kind of want that, not just this. And then that sent me to the bookstore. It made me just sit down, and I started writing everything in this book. It wasn't a decision I made from a place of strength. It was just a response to someone who, gosh, I really cared about this guy. And he'd kind of seen through the facade, and he was waiting on the other side of that. And I knew that. And he just met me where I was. And he was open to more of me than I was ever willing to give anyone before. So for the very first time in my life, I gave it. So I'm writing everything in this relationship workbook. I wish I could remember the name of it, but I filled out every page, and I just was trying to write down everything, and not the impressive version, not the capable version, not the version that I had spent my life presenting, just the actual version, my history, my wounds, my crappy patterns, just all of these mistakes that I had made, and what I was beginning to understand about why I had made them, what I was looking for, what I was afraid of. Just an honest picture of me. And then I just left it on his doorstep. This guy is fabulous, but he doesn't like to read. He would say that about himself. He didn't read the whole book. But he read every word that I wrote in the book. And then he called me. And we talked for hours, and I felt so seen, not despite the hard parts, but actually through them. All right, so we've been together now over 16 years. And my sons adore him, which means everything. And every night we hold hands as we fall asleep. It's so funny. It's such a simple thing, but it's such an extraordinary thing, you know, just after everything. So the pattern didn't break because I found the right person, though. It broke because I finally did the work to become someone who could receive the right person. Someone who wasn't asking him to close the gap. Someone who was willing to name her own weight and found a way to put some of it down, right? That just was willing to show up with the real me, not a performance, not the facade, and just was willing to trust that maybe that was enough. And it was. It is. So if you're sitting with the weight of your own role and the guilt and the shame, the specific mistakes that you can't just stop turning over in your head, I want you to know that weight was never meant to be permanent. Just name it. Put it down. And then get moving. Because the life waiting on the other side of that weight is more beautiful than you can imagine from where you're probably standing right now. I promise. All right, I'm Deb Gorbenko. This is Beauty Brains Bubbly Uncorked. And hopefully I'll get to see you next week.